It's 23 minutes to 9. As we've been reporting this morning, today sees the closing statements in a long-running inquiry into the blood contamination scandal of the 1970s and 1980s. What happened, very broadly speaking, is that people who had blood transfusions or were being treated for haemophilia ended up with HIV or hepatitis C. And as you'd expect, we wanted our own witness testimony on this programme. And to that end, we're very grateful to now be joined by Elaine Huxley and Colin Smith. I'll let you tell them their own stories. Elaine and Colin, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much both for your time. Elaine, if I could just start with you. I know our listeners may be familiar with your voice because you've kindly joined us in the past, but could you just recap for us what happened in your particular case and when?
Aged 29, I had a hysterectomy and hemorrhaged after, and I was transfused with 8 pints of blood. And later on, I became a blood donor for almost 6 years, and then I found out then, being a blood donor, that I was infected with hepatitis C.
And this was back in 1976. How did that then go on to affect your life?
I didn't know the severity of it because my doctor only told me that I had hep C. I didn't know how bad it was until I went to the blood inquiry at London, and then I was horrified to hear all these horrible, horrible stories. I had no clue whatsoever until I went to the blood inquiry.
So you were 29 at the time. What were you doing with your life at the time? Were you working, Elaine?
Yeah, I was working. I was a nurse.
Right. Okay. Do you mind me asking how you are now?
I'm battling on because now I've got cancer, and I'm just living from scan to scan and keeping my everything crossed.
Oh, Elaine, I'm so sorry. Well, we wish you all the best through that journey. What do you hope to get from the inquiry? What do you hope that this long-running public inquiry will give you? Is it a sense of closure?
Yeah, it's so sad. I'm dreading today. I really am. It's going to be so emotional. But I'm hoping that we'll have a huge apology, justice, and I
can put things to rest, maybe.
And can put things to rest. Yeah, maybe.
Just tell us who you're with there, because we heard a lovely secondary voice there. It's obviously someone who's supporting you through all this.
With me.
Who's that? Just tell us about who's that? Sorry, Annette.
Annette, yeah.
Just tell us about Annette.
Annette will tell you herself. You are.
Go on, Annette.
I had a blood transfusion late 85 for a nectopic, and I had one tube removed, and then I conceived a year later, thinking it was an amazing thing that had happened. I conceived quite quickly. And I didn't know for a lot of years that I'd passed it on to my daughter through the birth channel. And she also had it with me because I'd passed it on to her. And I didn't know for over 10 years until I had my second daughter. I was itching terribly. And I had blood tests 3 weeks before my second daughter was born. And they asked me the usual questions. Was I into drugs? A heavy drinker? I said no. Have you had a blood transfusion? Yes, I did. I said, oh my God, yes, I did. So then my second baby was born. Well, they told me then, we'll have a blood test for you and your daughter. They told me that day that I had hepatitis C, and so did my oldest daughter.
My goodness.
My younger daughter didn't get it. And now I'm fighting for justice. My eldest daughter became pregnant. We'd had treatment. It didn't work. It was horrendous. It was the worst thing ever.
And what comes?
Scared.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, Annette. I do want to get a chance to hear from Colin as well. But what comes across so clearly from listening to you is the way in which this has cast a shadow over your lives. And I want to get a sense of that from Colin as well. Colin, just tell us a bit about what happened in your particular your family's case.
Well, my youngest son was born in 1982. 2 years later, he's a haemophiliac. He was told he was HIV, and he was just one of the unlucky ones. But as it turns out, there's thousands of haemophiliacs infected. He had pretty serious health problems then up until he was 7 when he died.
Colin, I'm so sorry.
3 years after he died, they contacted a family, called us all in, and told us that he also had hepatitis C, but he'd been dead for 3 years before we found that out.
What do you
So
hope to get from the? What do you hope to get from this public inquiry, Colin? Do you want compensation?
Well, we want. It's the only recompense we're going to get, well, because nobody's going to be able to account for this. They're politicians; they'll find a way around it. So yes, I want compensation.
Well, hang on. When you say they're politicians, who would you like to? If people were taking responsibility, who would you like to hear sorry from?
Well, the health minister at the time, who keeps saying his civil servants didn't tell him anything. I think everybody knows that. I can't name them, obviously. But yes, the civil servants, politicians, medical staff, they all got their finger in the pies. The drugs companies who were supporting haemophilia centres financially so they could do research. I just want safeguards put in place so that this can't happen to families again.
And you say you got no shame in asking for compensation.
At first I did, but it's the only recompense. They've been denying the knowledge of my son since he died. The exact words were, he's not a breadwinner, he's not entitled to anything. So yes, it's been a 30-odd year struggle. But yes, I'm not ashamed of the fact that it ruined our lives. It cost me my job. We've had to move home. It's cost us lots of relationships with friends who obviously weren't friendly because they backed off. Of course. And after Colin died.
And of course, that was a time when, sorry to interrupt, Colin, but of course, that was a time when people knew a lot less about HIV and there were a lot more sort of scare stories around about it. So go on, Colin, just briefly, go on.
No, it's just, you're right. The stigma was there, the fear. I don't blame the general public at the time. It was the way the government were putting it on the TV.
Yeah, that was
falling headstones, things like that. You know, it put fear in people.
And our understanding has moved on a lot from then. Colin, Elaine, and Annette, I'm so sorry we've got to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us, and we really do wish you all the best.